when Shalimar went on, when the group went on there. You know, the first time the group went on there. But I used to hang out down there because Soul Train used to have some of the beautiful, most finest, beautiful women. Like, you know,
so you hung out.
So I hung out there
with the dancers.
as
you
closely as I
dancer.
could. I never danced. I never did the Soul Train line or the pop lock or anything like that. No, I never danced on Soul Train until the only time I was on camera on Soul Train was when the group performed on there. After I got with the group. And
so let me ask you another question. How did you actually hook up with the whole Shalimar, with Jody Watley and Jeffrey Daniel? How do you guys get together? Because I know that they danced on Soul Train. Yeah.
I used to. What's really funny, back in Ohio. Ohio was back in Ohio. I've always, like I said, I've always been in the groups and stuff, and Soul Train was like a ritual. Back in Ohio, like every place else in America back in that time. Yeah, every Saturday, at 12 noon, you know, me and my band, or I was at home or whatever, we would watch Soul Train, and to see who was doing it. Watch the girls, of course. You know, I was like, I guess 14, 15 years old, 16 years old, somewhere around there. And I used to watch Jeffrey and Jody on there. I used to see Jeffrey and Jody. I didn't know who they were, but I would see them because they were dance partners on Soul Train. So when I got to L.A., I got to L.A. right out of high school, 76. Yeah, 76, right out of high school. I went to L.A. And then I hooked up with these people at this place called Mavericks Flat down in the Crenshaw district. The two brothers owned it, John Daniels and Alonzo Daniels. And Mavericks Flat was a club, but upstairs they had a booking agency, and they used to put together show groups, you know, top 40 stuff, and all of their bookings were overseas. They had about 3 or 4 different, you know, show groups, and when I got there, one of the groups that they had was a group called the Love Machine, and 7 beautiful women, and the band that they had, the bass player of that band played with the group that was back in Ohio, and I knew him. So a couple months after I got out here, I called him. It might not even been a couple months. It might have been a month or so. But I called him, and he said, "Man, come on down. We're rehearsing." You know, they were doing an audition that night or the next night or something for Tom Jones, because they were auditioning to open up for one of his tours. And so we got down there, and I met John Daniels, and I met, you know, Alonzo Daniels and stuff, and then I went back down that night. Long story short, we decided to put a group together, right? A show group together. Right? And so every weekend, you know, Mavericks Flat he never had a liquor license. Let's clarify that now. I don't know whether it was because he was too cheap to get one, or he just never got one. But they had these fruit smoothie drinks that they used to make back, you know, and they used to be famous for these drinks. And Mavericks Flat was like a place. I mean, you could look out in the audience at any time, go down to Mavericks Flat at any time on the weekend, see Shaka Khan sitting in the audience, or Lionel Richie sitting in the audience, Richard Pryor. I mean, people used to come.
So all these known name celebrities were here.
Yeah, and they used to come down to Mavericks, and all the Soul Train people used to come down there every weekend and dance too. That's when I first met Jeffrey and Jody.
So that's when you first met them.
Before Shalimar even existed, right? So we didn't become friends or anything. The group that I put together at that time, whenever we would get a show in shape enough where we wanted to try it out on an audience, we would play Mavericks, right?
Right.
So Jeffrey and Jody saw the show, and finally we got that group together enough. It was a group called Beverly Hills. It was myself, this guy named Robert DeBlanc, and three other female singers.
So you actually had a group going before Shalimar.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You had your own group going before Shalimar. Did you guys actually put something out at that time?
No, we weren't a recording group. We were a top 40 group. I was a hired musician. I made $300 a week. Well, actually, I made $250.
So that was your 9 to 5 after the other shoe job.
I made $250 a week, and then I got a $50 raise.
Okay.
So it was $300 a week.
Yeah.
But the only place we played here in the States was Mavericks Flat. And then once we got the group in shape enough to tour, then I was on my way over to, first place we went was Helsinki, Finland. I was there for 2 weeks, and then Geneva, Switzerland.
Let me ask you, is that when they actually got the group Shalimar together?
No.
At that
See,
time?
you have to wait. Hold on. This is I'm moving this along as quickly as I can. But you asked the question.
I did.
No, see, Shalimar, like I said, Jeffrey and Jody and I, we met then, before Shalimar existed. Put together the group. I put together the group with Mavericks Flat. It was called Beverly Hills. That's when they first saw me perform, saw me sing. And then I went overseas for about 1.5 years with this group. I was over there for, we went from Geneva, Switzerland to Benidorm, Spain to Saint-Tropez, France, all over the place for about 1.5 years. And then when I got back, the group broke up. The show group broke up when we were in England. And I came back and I was just kind of kicking around. And I started working with this other record company. I won't say exactly who it is, but who it was. But we started working together, and then they started kind of giving me the runaround and all that kind of stuff. And I remember going to the offices. They had offices at the time on Sunset and Vine, and I was there. I went down there. I dropped my girlfriend, who we were living together at the time, and I dropped her off at work. She worked for Don Cornelius at the Soul Train Dance Studios, right? So I dropped her off at work, and I was going to the record company offices to talk about, them giving me the runaround, right? Okay. And I'm in the office, and I'm like, you guys, blah, 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 blah. Then the phone rings, right? The guy answers the phone, and he looks at me, he says, it's for you. And I said, well, if it's my lady, tell her I'll call her back because I'm in the middle of the meeting, blah, blah, blah. He says, it's not a lady, it's a guy. It sounds like it's long distance, right? So I get on the phone, and it's Jeffrey Daniels from Shalimar. Okay. He's calling from New York, right? They had a tune out at that time called Take That to the Bank, right? Right. And they had another guy that sang lead on that. Exactly. And they got into a little thing, I guess, or whatever. Okay. And he leaves them in the middle of a promotional tour. And instead of calling him and trying to rectify it, they called my lady, my girlfriend, because they knew she worked for Don. Right. They called her to find out where I was. They found out where I was. They called there, made the offer. This was on a Friday. This is Friday. Made the offer. He said, well, are you at the, what building? I was told him where I was. He said, well, in that same building down on the 9th floor, Solar has, their office in the same building. He said, if you go down there, Dick Griffey, talk to you, and you can make an offer. He'll tell you the same thing we've told you. So, long story short, it was Friday. I got the offer. I went down. I got off the phone. I told them what the deal was. And they said, this guy, I tease this guy about this to this day, because I see him in Detroit all the time. Because he told me, he said, man, Shalimar is nothing but a fly-by-night disco group. You don't want to get involved with them, right? And I said, okay, well, I'm parked on the street. I'm going to go put some money in the meter. I'll be right back, right? So I go down to the 9th floor. I talk to Dick Griffey. He makes an offer. I told him that I have to, give these other people a chance to rectify themselves, because even though I wasn't signed to them, I still had given them my word as far as working on this project. So I left, and I called the people. I said, look, if you want to rectify this, I'll be home all night long. Nobody calls, right? Next morning I called Dick Griffey. He picks me up. I go over to his house, and I sit and watch a video.